Good morning, all of you. Today we will start with numerical solution of partial differential equations. So we already completed numerical solution for ordinary differential equation. Now we'll start with partial differential equations. So partial differential equation arises in the study of many branches of applied mathematics. Even in mechanical engineering, there are so many uh, situation in which you need to use partial differential equations. And some of the examples are fluid dynamics, heat transfer, boundary layer flow, elasticity, quantum mechanics, and electromagnetic theory. There are so many applications, but these are some of the applications where you need to solve partial differential equations. Now, when you come across the partial differential equations of these applications, then these equations are very complicated or complex in nature, and only few of them can be solved analytical or the methods that you studied till now. So for more complicated equations, you must go for a numerical solution. And finite difference is the most commonly and widely used method to solve partial differential equations numerically. Now in this method, the derivatives appearing in the equation and the boundary conditions are replaced by their finite approximations. So this statement is very important. We are going to replace the boundary conditions and the derivatives equations with the finite approximations. Then the given equation is changed to a system linear equations which are solved by iterative procedure. Even though this process is very slow but provides very good result in many boundary value problems. So that's why finite difference become more and more popular and widely used. And yes, of course, you can use computers to solve such type of problem. For example, you can say you are solving the problem related to heat transfer, then you may use ANSYS. And if you give the boundary conditions, that is the temperature at the boundaries, then in order to calculate the temperature distribution over the inner surface, you can use this finite difference method. So that tool is already available in the ANSYS. So there are n number of applications where you need to use numerical methods for solving partial differential equations. Now we will see classification of second order equations. So general linear partial differential equations of second order in two independent variables is in the form of A xy dabba u by dabba x square plus B xy dabba 2u upon dabba x dabba y into C xy dabba 2u upon dabba y square plus xy u dabba u by dabba x comma dabba u by dabba y. And such a partial differential equation is said to be elliptic if b square minus 4ac, if this answer is less than 0, then the equation will be elliptic. If b square minus 4ac equal to 0, then equation will become parabolic. And the equation will be hyperbolic if b square minus 4ac is greater than 0. So based on the values of b square minus 4ac, you can decide whether the given equation is of parabolic, hyperbolic or elliptic. Again, you need to note down a partial differential equation is classified according to the region in which it is desired to be solved. So that region is very important. For instance, a partial differential equation of form fxx plus fyy is elliptic if y is greater than 0, parabolic if y is equal to 0, and hyperbolic if y is less than 0. So these are the some of the indicators that will tell you whether the given partial differential equation is elliptic or parabolic or hyperbolic. Then we will see how to solve the partial derivative problems related to partial derivatives with the help of ionized difference method, and the solution will be numerical. So let's consider a region R. So you can see a square box like structure that represents area R, and it is lies in the plane XY. So for understanding point of view, we are considering a plane XY, and the whole region R is divided into small rectangular blocks. So here you can see the rectangular block, and it can be created by drawing horizontal and vertical lines. So once you draw number of vertical and horizontal lines, you can divide the region R into rectangular small regions where the distance between the and the intersecting points are called as mesh points or node points or grid points. So some of the points are shown here. And on x-axis, the distance between two successive nodes is represented by delta x, which is equal to h. And the vertical distance or the distance on along y-axis is delta y is equal to k. So this is how the structure is denoted, and the nodes are generally calculated for its coordinates. For example, if you select this node or mesh point, then its coordinates are xy or ij. So if you want to calculate other nodes, then you can see the previous node has coordinates x minus h. So as this is the previous point along x-axis, so x minus h into y or I minus 1 j, you can see here. If you want to estimate the coordinates of next node, then the coordinate x becomes x plus h, as there is an increment of h along x-axis, and y remains as it is. So x plus hy or I plus 1j. Similarly, on y-axis, you can see the x becomes as it is, and there is an increment on y-axis. So y becomes y plus k. So this increment is there. So this is how we define the structure, and every node has a coordinates. And if the boundary values are known to us, all the boundary values, then we will use certain techniques to find out unknown intermediate node points. So that we will see in this method. So for that, generally we use Laplace equation d2 dabba 2u upon dabba x square plus dabba 2u upon dabba y square is equal to 0. So this is the Laplace equation, and again you can see a region is shown in the figure. It has a plane xy, and the region is divided into square mesh, and the distance between two successive node is h. So you can take any two nodes, successive nodes, then its difference will be h, whether it is on x-axis or whether it is on y-axis. The space or the distance is h maintained. And while preparing such type of plane, we assume that the region R can be exactly subdivided into a square region, that is dividing the whole region into a small square block is possible. If this assumption is true, then or with this assumption we solve such type of problem. And in this, the boundary values are generally known to us, or we are going to apply the boundary conditions. So you can see all the boundary values: B51, B14, B13, B12, B11, B21, B31, B41, B51, B52, 53. All these values are known to us or given to us, or we are going to decide these values. And once you get these values, you are going to calculate the intermediate data points or the value of each intermediate nodes. And for that, we can use a standard 5-point formula. So we are going to explain this formula in next slide. But in order to calculate the intermediate data points, we can use standard 5-point formula, or sometimes we use diagonal 5-point formula that you can see here. So either use standard 5-point formula or diagonal 5-point formula. But one important point I'm going to mention here, that is, try to use standard 5-point formula or prefer standard 5-point formula or diagonal 5-point formula. Whenever there is no option or we are not in a position to use standard 5-point formula, then we can use diagonal 5-point formula. Now we will see how to use standard 5-point formula. So you can see we are interested in node Uij, and you can see in the figure Uij, and it is the average of Ui minus 1j. So this node Ui minus 1j plus Ui plus 1j, Ui plus 1j plus Ui j plus 1. So this node plus Ui j minus 1. Means what we do when we want to estimate a node, we take the average of the neighbors. So here these are the 4 neighbors, and we simply take the sum of all those nodes and divide it by 4. That is, we take the average. So always remember that when you want to estimate a node value by using standard 5-point formula, then take the average of neighbors, and that you can see in this equation. Then in case of diagonal 5-point formula, what generally we do, if we want to calculate Uij, then we take diagonal points. So you can see here we are taking the average of diagonal points. So Uij is the average of Ui minus 1, j plus 1, Ui minus 1, j plus 1 plus Ui plus 1, j minus 1 plus Ui plus 1, j plus 1 and plus Ui minus 1, j minus 1. So this is how we can use diagonal 5-point formula to calculate intermediate node. Now, as I mentioned, whenever possible, always use standard 5-point formula, and rarely you need to use diagonal 5-point formula. So when to use, so and why to use? So the answer is, when you check the position of this intermediate node from each of the neighbors, then the distance is very slow if you compare the distance in case of diagonal 5-point formula. So as the distance of the node in which we are interested from the nodes that are given to you, then it can be seen that that distance is less in case of standard 5-point formula. So accuracy of this 5-point formula is more as compared to diagonal 5-point formula. So that's why I said always prefer standard 5-point formula or diagonal 5-point formula. Now when to use diagonal 5-point formula? The answer is also very simple. When the neighbor data points are not known, so you can see in the figure of diagonal 5-point formula, there are 4 nodes and we can use standard 5-point formula, but their values are not known. So in such cases, what you need to do, you need to use diagonal 5-point formula, and once the value of neighbors are known to you, then again go back to standard 5-point formula in order to increase the accuracy of the result. Now let's see how to use diagonal 5-point formula to compute initial values of u at the interior mesh point. So let's start with u33. So here you can see u33 is there. So this node we are interested. So b15 plus b51 plus b55 plus b11. So take the average of these 4 data points. You can calculate u33. Similarly, u24. So you can see u24, b15, u33, then b35 and b13. So by using these 4 data points, you can calculate u24. Similarly, u44. So u44, diagonals b35, b53, b55 and u33. Similarly, u42. So u42 you can see here. So u33, b51, b53 and b31. And u22. So for u22, you just draw a diagonal. The first point is b13, then b31, then u33 and b11. So take the average of these data points, you will get u22. And here what we did, we estimated 1, that is u33, u24, u44, u42 and u22. These 5 points we estimated by using diagonal 5-point formula. Then what we will do, we will use the standard 5-point formula to calculate the remaining point, that is u34, u43, u32 and u23 by using standard 5-point formula. So here you can see u23, this point, by using the neighbor values. So b13, b24, u33 and u22. So you will get u23, then u34. So u34, its neighbors are u44, b34, u24 and u33. Then for u43, you can see the neighbor is u44, b53, u42 and u33. Then for calculating u32, what you will do, you will take the average of neighbors. So first neighbor is u22 plus u33 plus u42 plus b31 and divided by 4, you will get u32. So this is how we can use standard 5-point formula to compute remaining interior points. But there is no hard and fast rule for which point you need to use standard 5-point formula and where to use diagonal 5-point formula. Always remember that when you know the value of the all the neighbors, then go for standard 5-point formula. For example, you want to calculate u33, and if you know b13, b35, b53 and b31, then yes, you can use standard 5-point formula to calculate u33. Or if you know u34, u43, u32 and u23, then also you can use standard 5-point formula to calculate u33. So when the data points are given to you, draw this type of box area and check which values are given and which are the unknown data points. So for a given unknown, check whether all the neighbors are given. If all the neighbors are given, use 5 standard data point formula. If one of the neighbor is not given, then you can go for diagonal 5-point formula. Now we can use two methods to find out the interior data points. The first method is Jacobi method. So you can use this formula u ij raised to n plus 1, that is next iteration. Or before this, I will tell you here. So the points that we estimated here, all the data points that we estimated in these two steps are primary values or initial values, we can say initial values. And the accuracy of these values will not be a great level. So what you need to do, you can increase their accuracy by doing iterations or by using iterative methods. So by doing number of iterations, you will get accurate values. So for doing iterations, we use Jacobi method or Gauss-Seidel method. So in case of Jacobi method, you can see u ij raised to n plus 1 is equal to u I minus 1 j raised to n, u I plus 1 j raised to n, u I j plus 1 raised to n, and u I j minus 1 raised to n. So this is the formula given by Jacobi and known as Jacobi's method, and it is used for denoting nth interval value of ui by uij raised to n. And it gives improved values of uij at the interior mesh point and is called as point Jacobi's formula. Now in case of Gauss-Seidel method, you can compare these two formula, Jacobi's and Gauss-Seidel. So here also we want to estimate the next iteration, that is uij raised to n plus 1, which is equal to 1 by 4 u I minus 1 j raised to n plus 1. So you can see here difference. Here u raised to n, here u raised to n plus 1. So here In case of Jacob method, whatever values we estimated in previous iteration are taken everywhere. So you will see u raised to n, u raised to n, u raised to n, and u raised to n. But what is done in Gauss-Seidel method? If doing next iteration, if any of the data point for which latest value is available, then we can use that as n plus 1. Here you can see there are 2 points where latest iterations are available, iterative values are available, so we can use it. And for which there is no latest value, we can use the values which were estimated in the previous iterations. So Gauss-Seidel, ultimately the Gauss-Seidel uses the latest iteration or latest iterative values, whereas Jacobi uses all the values which are estimated in previous iterations, and that's why the iteration rate of Gauss-Seidel method is much higher than Jacobi method, and that's why while solving problem we prefer Gauss-Seidel method. Now we will take one example and we will check how to solve partial differential equation numerically, and for that the numerical is given as follows. So solve the elliptic equation uxx plus uyy equal to 0 for the following square mesh with boundary values. So boundary values are given. So you can see all the boundary values are given. And what you need to do, you need to find out intermediate points. So how many intermediate points are there? U1, U2, U3, U4, U5, U6, U7, U8 and U9. So there are 9 unknown data points, and that you need to estimate by using the known boundary values. So all the boundary values are given, but before solving the problem you need to check all the given boundary values carefully. So from this given data points you can see that the boundary values are symmetrical about line AB, because the upper values, so you can see the opposite values 100, 100, 0, 0, 500, 500. So all the values are same. So it is symmetrical about this horizontal axis AB. So we can say that U1 will be equal to U7. Then U2 will be equal to U8. And the third point, that is U3 will be equal to U9. So due to symmetry, both these highlighted values gives the same values. Again if you look at this mesh carefully, then about vertical axis CD there is a symmetry. So again U1, U3 will be same, U7, U9 will be same, and again U4 and U6 will be same. So from the symmetry you can see that you need to estimate only U1, U2, U4 and U5. So U1, U2, U4 and U5. If you estimate only these data points, then with the help of these correlations you can easily calculate the remaining data points. So this understanding level you need to develop at the beginning. Otherwise what will happen? You need to do so many iterations. and you will be start calculating all the values again and again. So it becomes a time consuming process. So look at the boundary values and check whether there is any symmetry or not. If symmetry, find out which 2 or 3 or 4 values will have same values, and based on that decide which values or which iterations you need to do in order to solve this problem in very quick manner. So now after this we will start solving the problem, and as I mentioned, due to symmetry you need to find out only u1, u2, u4 and u5. So we will start with u5, and when you look at the point u5, then there are 4 neighbors: u4, u2, u6 and u8. So they are unknown, so you cannot use standard 5-point formula. Then you will check whether you can use diagonal 5-point formula. So u1, u3, u9 and u7. Again all the diagonals are unknown, so again you cannot calculate directly. So you will go to the larger block and you will use the point whose value is 2000. So here you can see u5 is equal to 1 by 4, 2000 plus 2000. Here you can see 2000. Then 1000 plus 1000. So by using these 4 neighbors, you use standard 5-point formula and you calculated first iteration or initial value for u5, and which is equal to 1500. Then now you know the value of u5 initial values. Now go to next value. So next value we will go with u1. So we will try to calculate u1, but while calculating u1, if you check neighbor, first neighbor is given, second is given, but u2 and u4 are not given. So you cannot use the standard 5-point formula, but you know all the diagonals. So by using diagonal values and diagonal 5-point formula, you can calculate u1. As you can see, 0 plus 1500. So here u5 is 1500, just you can see here. Then 1000 plus 1000, so 1000. Oh sorry, this 2000 and 1000, because it is diagonal, right? So this is diagonal, so you need to take only the diagonal point. So 0, 1000, 2000 and 1500. So you will get u1 initial value for u1 as 1125. So this is how we calculated the initial value of u1 as 1125 by using diagonal 5-point formula. Then we will go to u2. So again, when you check the neighbors of u2, then you can easily say that there is one unknown. All values are given. u5 you just estimated, u1 you just estimated here 1125, 1000, yes it is there, and u3 you can say this, sir, this is unknown, but we know that u1 and u3 are same because of symmetry. So you can use standard 5-point formula to calculate u2. So u2 is equal to 1 by 4, 1125 plus 1125 plus 1000 plus 1500, you will get 1188. Again, similarly, U4, if you want to calculate U4 and check the neighbors, then you can say that all the neighbors are given 2000. So you can put 2000. Then 1500, that is U5. Sorry, it's not. U4 you can calculate by using neighbors. So these are the 4 points. So yes, 2000, it is there. Then U7 is equal to U1. So U1 is estimated as 1125. Then U5 you already estimated. So U5 is 1500. And U1. So U1 is 1125. So U4 you will get as 1438. And once you get the initial values for U5, U1, U2 and U4, what you need to do by using Gauss-Seidel method, prepare the general equation for calculating doing the iterations. So here, we saw that we can use this formula to calculate to do the iterations. So again here, UN plus 1, in second segment U raised to n, third U raised to n plus 1 and U raised to n. So this formula you need to apply and also use standard 5-point formula to get the equations for U1 raised to n plus 1, and this is the formula for this. Then U2 raised to n plus 2, this is the formula. U4 raised to n plus 1, this is the formula, and U5 raised to n plus 1. And again in these formulas, two important things are there. First, check these equations whether they are prepared as per the Gauss-Seidel method or not. And second thing is that identify locations where you need to use latest iterations. So you can see where you need to use latest iterations. So at these locations you need to use values of latest iteration, and for remaining you can use the values from previous iteration, because for those the latest values are not available. So this is how you need to prepare these formulas carefully, and please verify that whether you are doing it correctly or not. So once these formulas will be ready, just keep on putting the next value. So for our understanding purpose, I wrote all the formulas here once again. And in first equation, we will see how to calculate next iteration. So put n is equal to 0. So here you can see in first iteration, put n is equal to 0. So n plus 1 becomes U1 raised to 1, which is equal to 1000 plus U2 raised to 0. So that value we estimated in previous iteration. So it is 1188, then 500, and U4 raised to 0 because n is 0. So estimated U4 raised to 0 in previous iteration. So 1438, and the answer for U11 will be 1032. Similarly, you can calculate U2 raised to 1. So un plus 1, 1032. So we are using here latest value, latest iteration, you can see here. Then u1 n plus 1, 1125, that is taken from previous iteration. Then 1000 as it is, and 1500. So u5 raised to 0, so that is previous iteration. And you got u2 raised to 1 as 1164. Similarly, u4 raised to 1 is equal to 1 by 4, 2000 as it is. So 2000 as it is. u5 raised to 0. So u5 raised to 0 is taken from previous iteration. Then u1 n plus 1. So this is taken from latest iteration that you can see here. We estimated u1. And u1 raised to n, that is taken from previous iteration. So you got 1414. Similarly, you can calculate u5 So u4 latest iteration. So you can use this value. Then u4 raised to n from previous iteration, 1438. u2 raised to n plus 1. So latest value 1164. So you can use this value. And u2 raised to n. So 1188. So answer is 1308. So this is how just put n is equal to 0 in the general equations and calculate first iteration. So next, what you will do, put in this equation n is equal to 1. So your equation will be u1 raised to 2. Here u2 raised to 1 and u4 raised to 1 and so on. So you will get new equations. So as per the formula, you just calculate u12, u22, u42 and u52. And then what you need to do, compare the values of second iteration with the first iterations in order to check whether both values are very close to each other or not. Here you can see the first value is 1032 and here it is 1020. So there is a significant difference. So you need to go for third iteration. So how will you iterate? Go for third iteration, put n is equal to 2. So when you put n is equal to 2, this will become 3. This will become 3. So third iteration you can see, we just put n is equal to 2, it will become u1 raised to 3. And the answers are 982, 1063, 1313, 1201. Now we will check all these values with previous iteration, so that we will come to know whether both values are very close to each other or not. So here u2 was 1020 and here it is 982. Again there is a significant difference. So again we go for fourth iteration. So just put n is equal to 3 and you will get fourth iteration and calculate the values. So u14 969, u24 1038, u44 1288, u54 1178. Then again do fifth iteration. So 957, 1026, 1276 and 1156. Again, if you compare the values of fourth iteration and fifth iteration, again there is a significant difference. So go for sixth iteration. So these are the 4 values, and if you compare these values with fifth iteration, you will see a difference. So then we go for 7th iteration, U17, and check the two successive values. So again, there is a difference. So keep this process repeating again and again. And here you can see in 11th and 12th iteration, the values for U11, sorry, U1, U2, U4 and U5, they are almost same. So slowly the values are converging and you are reaching towards the best approximate solution. And this minor difference we are neglecting, and we are assuming that the solution for this equation is U1 is 939, U2 1001, U4 1251, and U5 1126. Now the question arises, how many iterations we should do? So in this type of problem where symmetry is there, so I suggest you to go up to, if possible and if time permits, go up to the to a solution where two successive values will have least error. Otherwise, you can, for time being, you can restrict your answer to 5 or 6 iterations. So that is the suggestion from my side. Okay, so that's it for today's session.